So okay, so I'm here today with the man of the hour, Mr. Romando Rampersad, environmentalist and a wetland ecologist, in fact. And I'm here to ask some question about what is really happening in the oceanic waters. I think I have it right here when I say oceanic waters.
And the oceanic environment.
Well, the oceanic environment. And the middle go to the joke with the man actually last night. But but we want to deal with why and what are some of the causes that would have allowed the this certain type of shark to come up on the shoreline and attack individuals in Tobago and probably might be coming up in Trinidad. We never know. So let me introduce Mr. Romando Rampersad. Good day, Mr. Romando Rampersad.
Good day, sir.
Now, tell us, what type of shark, because I know a number of people want to know what kind of shark um, attacked this particular visitor in Tobago.
Okay, that's a fair question. The shark that would have attacked the visitor
Mm-hmm.
is a bull shark. Now you must understand the nature of the bull shark. The bull shark is one of the more aggressive of the species of sharks. This particular strain is a very aggressive strain. Contrary to common belief that all sharks attack without warning, the fact remains the great whites, the tiger sharks, and other of their species seldom comes close to shore to attack you. And I use the term seldom because it does happen from time to time in various parts of the world. One of the world's famous shark attack area would be Australia, the waters around Australia, or the Keys around Florida.
Right.
But this particular strain of shark, the bull shark, is very aggressive. And in order for it to come so close at this time, means that there must be an enabling factor in the environment of the waters that encourages the shark to come so close to shore and to cause it to attack. Now, the bull shark possesses the unique ability to adapt to its environment. Any environment that it goes into, it is very adaptable. It is so prolific that the bull shark has the ability to adapt to fresh water. As noted in some of the rivers in the United States and so on, you will find bull shark 100 miles up a river in fresh water living among the crocs and the gators. The thing is, this particular strain of shark has that ability. But more to the point where this particular shark attacks someone, it means that there must have been an enabling factor in that environment that encouraged the shark to come closer to the shoreline. And I think we as a people in Trinidad and Tobago, for the greater part, we have neglected the fact that we ignore the environmental laws that exist. For instance, you're out in the ocean. How do you, when these shark hunters goes out there to get shark, what do they do to attract the species? They use buckets of animal blood and entrails and throw it into the water to attract the shark. And they continue doing that. Now here is the thing. Once you have created an enabling environment, these particular animals come and they will stay there because has now become a feeding ground, a man-made feeding ground that encourages the species to gather and stay there. I'm certain many people would understand that from time to time you may have seen documentary of numerous sharks going into a feeding frenzy. Okay, they don't just do it just like that. What happens is that you create an enabling environment to allow them to come in and they stay. Similarly, in Tobago. The shark that attacked the individual, let me say I express my sympathies to the person as it's a foreign individual and may not be in used to our waters. But we have never had this fierce attack happening before. We have had attacks in the past, but not this fierce. And this gave rise to the question, what are we doing to encourage people, citizens, to obey the environmental laws that is laid down in our books so that they will not encourage these animals into an area that is clearly designed for recreation by human beings? But again, you can't blame the animals because unlike the human being who has a brain and can think, they react to the environment. And if you give them an enabling environment, they will come and they will attack. Because again, I go back to what I'm saying. The bull shark is one of the most aggressive. They don't need a reason to attack. They will attack. Once there's movement in the water, and contrary to common belief, they say if you put one drop of water in the ocean, a shark can smell that drop 100 miles away. Okay, that is a myth. I am not saying that a shark or an animal, a predator in that area, specific area, may pick up on that one drop of blood. But the ocean is so large that one drop of blood dissipates immediately. What it takes is a large amount of constant
to draw them in.
That's right, of constant happenings and action being taken by citizens. And I can tell you for a fact, the majority of people may not know this, but fishermen and fisher folks, and let me say why I say fisher folk. Fishermen are professional to their jobs.
Yes.
They understand the environment that they work in, and they know there are certain things you do not do in those environments. But then you have the amateurs who go out there on a fishing spree. They catch a fish and they clean it.
But fit everything.
And the entrails are tossed back into the water, which you are doing that creates an enabling environment. So imagine if 10 or 15 people were to go out with the fish for sport and they clean their fish and they toss the entrails and everything back into the water. You are creating an enabling environment for these predators.
But what if the fishermen and them brought it on when they catch the fish and they come in shore and they clean it, and you know they have the little cleaning place.
That also creates an enabling environment because the movement of the oceanic pressures pulls that stray off blood that falls onto the sand, goes out into the ocean, and it is not a small amount, it's a large amount.
Yes, because
which creates an enabling environment that these sharks will. And if that is being the case, if that is the case, I think people should be more aware of the environment and what they do and what they should do and what they should not do. And I won't blame the fishermen totally, but I will say that they do have a role to play in creating a situation where you will not enable the area to become a feeding ground for this particular strain of shark.
But are the fishermen, but probably, isn't that the fishermen and them maybe doing it unconsciously, not aware that they're drawing the sharks and them probably closer to the shore?
Again, Mr. Devon, again, it goes back to what I've said. We have rules, we have laws that governs our environment. We have rules that governs our environment. Unfortunately, people, everyday people, not just the fishermen, and I won't put absolute blame on fishermen, because I think they are aware of what they could and could not do and what they should and should not do. I blame it on the people that's encouraged to go out there, fish, do what they do, and create an environment that attracts these animals. And again, it goes back to what I said. The laws are on the books. The guidelines are on the books. Unfortunately, we have not been able to acquire any sort of educational program that encourages citizens of both Trinidad and Tobago, and indeed the Lesser and Greater Antilles, to not do certain things, because by doing that, you will be endangering the lives of yourself and others. So, as like I say, a lot of fishermen knows it, and I will agree with you. Sometimes unconsciously, they may be a contributing factor to creating the environmental conditions that is compatible with this particular strain of shark coming in.
But what are some of the other contributing factors that will allow these type of sharks to come in?
But the bull shark really needs no reason, but once it goes into an area where food is available, and when I say food, in this instance, we are speaking of human beings who is a food source. The human being is, we are a food source to this particular.
Yeah, because we in their waters.
We are in their environment.
Mm-hmm.
But over the years, we have ignored the environmental conditions that we are supposed to keep. And once they come into an area and they find a food source, they will stay. You will not see them because they will go out into the deeper waters, but they will come back at a certain hour, once a week, twice a week, once a month, looking for food again. And this time, you will not just have one, you may very well have quite a few. And that is how it begins. And by extension, what is going to happen is we would have now created an environment in and around Trinidad and Tobago that is being sustained by careless human behavior.
So why I say fishermen doesn't mean that the fishermen who we know with the little pirogues and things also, eh? But what about these trawlers who operate outside of Trinidad?
Okay, I am aware that we do have a problem with some trawlers. And years ago, there was a big cry out there about the use of drift nets, which I believe it's still going on. Drift nets cause a lot of oceanic deaths for animal life in the sea. And they would catch, when they go in with these drift nets, they not just catch large fish, they catch from the small herring goes right up, which means the progenies of the larger species and strains are being caught. Once you take them out of the water, the progenies will not survive for more than a minute or two. When they die, they are no longer of use to these particular trawlers, and they are tossed back into the ocean. And by doing so, they themselves are now creating an enabling environment that attracts predators, other scavengers of the ocean, to come in there, and these scavengers will stay because they're getting a food source. So you will have animals such as the barracuda, the sharks, but particularly bull shark, because of their aggressive nature, will settle in these areas and areas in and around where this is taking place. And you will have attacks because they will, when they can't get that food source there, they will venture closer inland looking for it.
So now that the beaches and them, because they had to close the beaches and them in Tobago immediately because nobody knew or acknowledged that these things would have been coming up so close and attacking people. And I don't think that they expected it to attack anybody at that point in time. But it did attack. It did some damage to an individual, and they're supposed to be flown to Trinidad. I'm not too sure they're in Trinidad seeking medical care right now at this point in time. But how is that going to now affect the economy of tourism in Tobago?
Well, okay. You must understand something. When an incident like this happens, there are going to be fallout.
Mm.
In this instance, it's going to be a negative fallout, which means that even local tourists, people from Trinidad traveling to Tobago, will now be very careful of entering the ocean around where they are staying. So it is going to have a negative impact in the interim. However, there are measures that can be taken to ensure, while it is, no one can guarantee that it's never going to happen again, but we can take all necessary precautions as to not encourage an enabling environment for this particular creature. And believe it or not, sharks of the ocean are not the only thing we need to worry about. Sometimes we need to worry, and a lot of times we need to worry about the jellyfish. It's not one that they pay close attention to, but I'm certain you would have seen this happening on numerous beaches in and around Trinidad and Tobago, where a large amount of jellyfish washes up on shore.
Yes.
Right. The first thing is to identify the species of jellyfish. The most dangerous, which is of course the man of war, do come up in our waters from time to time. And we need to pay close attention to that also. But when you're looking at tourism as the mainstay of your economy, what you need to do is to create something, an environment that encourages safety in the water, as some countries have done it before. They set up barrier reefs.
Yes.
A little out into the ocean that reduces the risk of having these particular predators coming close to shore.
Well, I think when I was in Tobago over the weekend going there, and I went up by Storby. Yes, Storby. I didn't go pitch on Storby. And I went into the waters and I see they put up this kind of barricade, and they had like guards telling you where to bathe and where is not to bathe. So they had like a thing in the water, like a barricade, and they going quite out at a certain distance. I think it was about, let me say, how far away? A good distance, not far out, but enough that you know, okay, the people safe. You had currents in the water in certain parts also. So they told you this part is safe and you could go and fish on that side also. So they basically identify certain sections of the waters for certain things. And I saw one of these bloating kind of fish that when it
the blowfish.
The blowfish. That when it came up, you see all the spines. A man was fishing and he catch one, and you see all the spines just open out. And he said that if you hold it, it will level venom into you and it could end up.
Oh, you're talking about the lionfish.
Is that lionfish?
Yeah. They do have, the lionfish do possess the spikes on their back, their dorsal fins, pectoral fins, do have a particular bit of venom at the tip of each spine, each bone. So if you grab it with your bare hands, you're liable to feel a lot of discomfort. That could result in high fever and this kind of thing. And while it is to a strong, healthy person, it may not be detrimental. So anyone with other complaints, other medical complaints, it could be very detrimental to these people.
So isn't that we have to go on a new campaign now? Because we're seeing where climate change is taking place really and truly. The waters may be becoming more warmer. Sharks migrating from certain places. Well, not only just sharks, but fishes migrating from certain places and going other places. Is it that we have to do a more aggressive campaign in terms of the environment and letting people know that, hey, these are the type of species that are dangerous. They could come, they could be very detrimental to you, and you need to be aware of these type of fishes.
Okay. We do have programs that have been put in place over the years. Unfortunately, it goes back to the view, as we are often saying, Trinidadians and Tobaganians, we have a 7-day memory. That in the beginning, it is a novelty as it's new and it's enforced with vigor. After a few weeks, it dies a very sultry death. That no one cares anymore because the novelty of it has worn off. But I can tell you this, and I want to make this abundantly clear. The person, the minister with responsibility for the environment, from time to time the minister have expressed concern about the environment in Trinidad and Tobago. And indeed, along the 5 islands that's incorporated within the archipelagic state of Trinidad, Tobago and its dependencies. The minister from time to time have expressed grave concern that the institutions responsible for carrying out certain programs to ensure our environmental safety and our environmental strength are maintained, these institutions who were given these responsibilities have become over the years negligent in their approach. And for a great as a matter of fact, we have become so negligent that we allow things to happen, and after it has happened, then we wish to speak to it, not realizing that we are one of the contributing factors that sustain bad environmental policies. And I'm not saying we in this country have a bad environmental policy. We have a very good one, a very strong environmental policy. The fact remains we have no institution that's willing to go the distance to enforce the rules and the laws of the environmental policies that have existed over the years by various institutions, various governments. But these institutions is where everything falls. While your ministers, and I use this term as a blanket term, while your ministers with the responsibility for the environment, and I want to say quite clearly, your present minister with responsibility for the environment, I am aware that the environment is one of the most important things to this minister. Unfortunately, your minister does not have the substantial support from the various agencies who are given the responsibilities to carry out these actions. And therein lies the problem, because we have not been able to curb the human nature of our country to allow for a sustainable, good environmental process.
So where do we go from here now in terms of getting these, because we don't know, well, now that the shark get a taste of blood,
yes,
in terms of attacking somebody inside and closer to land, where do we go now in terms of getting the sharks to move away from the closeness of the shores to back out into the sea?
Well, it's quite simple, that question was asked to me, as a matter of fact, last night at a little discussion I was having with some friends. I don't know if they were joking, but a friend asked me the exact question. And I simply told him, I said, well, it's quite frank, and it's a very, very easy solution. Call in all the sharks, line them up, and have a word with them. And ask them to peaceably remove themselves from the area. I don't know if they listen. And if you're looking for the particular shark that bit this tourist, ask them which one of them are responsible. You may get, you see, the thing is, that's just a little bit of levity.
Yeah.
The fact remains, what we need to do is adhere to the environmental codes that exist. It's not that you need new codes. You have the codes there. Yes. It exists. But what we need to do is to encourage people to adhere to these codes, which in fact will create a good, sustainable, a good, sustainable environmental condition fit for all of us and all the animals that inhabit our both terra firma and oceanic environments.
Mm. So we now have to be mindful now, Mr. Romando, that we live amongst these creatures of the sea.
Mm-hmm.
And from time to time, they will come to take possession of what is theirs, which is basically the sea.
Exactly. It's the environment. And for years and years, human beings have been encroaching on these environments without the care that is supposed to be attached to it, to getting into. It's like me coming into your home, and without asking, I reach into your refrigerator. I mean, let's be real.
Mm-hmm.
It's what we have been doing with no care for our oceanic environment, and I want to be abundantly clear about this. The human animal happens to be the greatest and worst and most feared predator, both on land and sea, because we don't care about others and we treat everything as it belongs to us. The ocean does not belong to us. The animals that live there do not belong to us. We are allowed from time to time to extract certain species for own consumptions and so on.
Mm-hmm.
But we are not allowed to destroy a species simply because we can. Let me be clear. If we were to say, you see people today, imagine if you will, 10 big, strong men standing on a corner, and they see a little rat snake, and all of them pick up something to kill it. What if this were to be reversed? And you walk into the forest, and the snakes gather around you and say, there's a human, let's kill it.
They go in their environment, them come in your environment,
but that's just the thing.
So you come like a threat to them.
That's just the thing. The environment is not yours to destroy. It is not the right of the human being to think that the environment belongs to you. The environment belongs to all of us, all living creatures that exist within those spaces. And the sooner we can find that out and accept it, the better. And the better off we will be for it. I want to applaud your minister, Mr. Devon, because your minister have from time to time expressed grave concerns. Unfortunately, the concerns expressed by your minister, who has the responsibility for the environment, oftentimes falls on deaf ears. And the institutions that are responsible for carrying out the policies designed by the parliament of your country and our country to ensure the safety of the citizens and the other life forms that exist and continue to live in close proximity to each other are not enforced properly or vigorously enough.
So let me ask you this question. Should we be concerned that these bullfrogs could reach Trinidad and come into the rivers? Because you did mention that they do come up to...
No, you see, you change the subject. Instead of bull shark, it said bullfrog.
I mean, bull shark, so, my mistake. Bull shark, my mistake. But it's bull shark.
Okay. There is a possibility. However, I would say this much. If any river is to be affected by these bull sharks, it would be on the eastern side of the island, up at the river, that kind of area where the waters are mixed directly with the Atlantic.
Right.
On the Gulf of Paria side, yes, while there are sharks, there are smaller sharks, I suspect that you are not going to have too many of these sharks existent in the Gulf of Paris. If they do, they would have existed more on the Venezuelan coast side or more to the neutral side of the ocean,
the
international waters,
Mm.
because of the depth. And fortunately, the human animal is one that when a novelty hits us for the first time, so when it hits us for the first time, it becomes a novelty. And suddenly you will find people reacting in a negative manner while pretending they're doing the positive thing. As you're going to have now, people actually seeking out these animals and killing them. The fact is, there are many things that we need to do. Yes, we do need a more, I would say, encouraging educational program to allow citizens to understand that these are the things, the do's and don'ts of our environment, that encourages things to happen in our environment. And we need to ensure that the institutions with responsibility for certain things in our environment functions properly.
Is it a wake-up call for us to really and truly be more mindful of what is around us in our environment and to take it for granted?
Well, I thought that would have happened many, many years ago, many moons ago. We've been getting wake-up calls all the time. Unfortunately, again, we go back to the 7-day wonder. We all, when it happens, we all express concern. And after 7 or 8 days, we start wondering what next to do. And we move on to something else.
So, are you going to reach out to the Tobago House of Assembly to close all the beaches?
Why should I?
Well, you are environmentalist.
Yes, but why should I? I have done that on numerous occasions. I even had a particular minister one time who told me in uncertain terms, you don't belong to my party. And while you are the only one qualified who have a track record in this particular situation, we can't use you. Instead, we'll take someone from outside the country, bring them in the country, so said, so done. There was a particular oil spill where the wetland, the mangroves were being affected. And while it is I went and I offered my assistance and my group's organizational structures, how we can help with the cleanup effort and so on and save the mangroves and so on. I was told in all certain terms, but we have someone from New York coming into the country. And we have already given our commitment to that person. So here we are. And I make no apologies for this. Unfortunately, my brother, when you're not right, you're not right. So why the hell should I go to offer my thing? What? To be mentally abused again? I have gone through that so many times that now I am fed up. Speaking to you today took a big effort from me because, as you know, it's been a long time since I even commented on any environmental issues. And it's not to say I have not been asked. Got to the point where I've been begging. And now I have resigned myself to understanding. Sit at home. Do nothing. Because nothing that you do will make a difference to those who have the authority to utilize your intelligence and your intellect. Simple.
Utilizing your intellect and intelligence is where we're going to leave it there for today. And but really and truly, one final question I want to ask.
Okay.
When would be a good time that these beaches should be reopened, and in terms of economic flow continuing? Because if all the beaches close, then it is going to be a problem, and it's going to be also well, when you're talking about finance, losing, it's going to have an economic fallout at this point in time. So when could we actually resume opening the beaches? Because we can't determine when the bullfrog, I mean the bullfrog, the bull shark will actually be coming back or when they go in and all different things. And are we going to tell the fishermen and them who cleaning the fish close to the shorelines that hey, you need to clean your fish in a more professional way and dispose of your things in a better manner?
Well, you do need that, and you do need to encourage a more environmentally friendly approach by the various individuals. I won't say just fishermen, I am saying all citizens.
Mm.
And as far as the safety of citizens and non-nationals, visitors, as far as their safety is concerned, let me be quite clear with what I'm going to say. Look, the fact remains, no one can determine when these animals will come closer to shore again.
Mm-hmm.
No one can say when. And I have not had the opportunity to speak to any of them
Right.
to ask them when they're going to come back close to shore.
Okay.
So I don't know.
So you had a bad telephone and call them?
Well, no, I believe someone could walk into the water, stand up to waist height,
Mm-hmm.
and accustomed throw your garbage into the ocean. And when they do come, speak to them. But look, let me be quite fair here.
Yeah.
Because this is a serious issue.
Yes.
There's going to be negative impact on the economy of Tobago.
Yes.
What I advise, and this is just my advice. So my brother, you could take my advice, whoever is listening to this could take my advice, or you can ignore me as usual. Put up restraining barriers and identify areas in your oceanic front line where people would normally go to bathe, and put up these restraining barriers to allow for only fish of a certain size to come through so they can move back and forth. However, don't put nets. Put something a little more sturdy. Do like what was done in Tobago. Put in a wall out there, a water, what they call a breakwater,
Yes.
that prohibits large creatures
from
coming in, but allows the smaller ones to come in. And that would minimize, I'm not saying it's going to stop it, I'm saying that it's going to minimize the possibility of attacks in the future.
Especially this kind of large, 8 to 10 feet.
Exactly, because you must understand that the female bull shark will grow up from 9 to 11 feet. And the male will grow from 7 to 9 feet. And they will weigh within the vicinity of 150 to 200 pounds, 250 pounds. Such a creature have a rather ravenous appetite. And once they have established a feeding ground, they are going to return. So let us not dilly-dally and let's not pretend it does not happen. It could happen again anytime. But does that mean no one is going to go into the ocean anymore?
No.
Exactly. People are going to continue. What we need to do is to create an environment that is more becoming and sustainable. The tourist visits, and you do have a lot of domestic tourism that goes on. So you would have been helping the citizen. And why is it we can't have a regular environmental program that advises citizens of this country as to the use of things? Why is it we can't get citizens of this country so in tune and involved with our environment that they themselves make the effort to help clean up our environment?
So, Mr. Romando, well, I want to thank you for doing this interview and really sharing some highlights on what some of the causes and effects that these bullfrog. I don't know why I keep saying bullfrog. Probably I seen the play mark or something. Or
well, I believe so. Possibly.
but but really and truly, it is really an eye-opener in terms of what these fishes, these sharks could do and how dangerous they are and how they could adapt to waters in Trinidad and Tobago as well as the Caribbean. Because if we're not careful, we may very well hear one day they reach up in the rivers and they living in the rivers.
Highly possible. Highly possible.
So,
however, this time I would advise that you shouldn't really expect that at this time. So, it could happen.
So we look forward to doing another interview eventually and talking about the environment and stuff because really and truly it is interesting that is what is happening around us is not really the main focus in terms of cleaning our environment and making sure that our environment is one that is optimus priority. But one day we will get there. Hopefully. One day we will get there. So I want to thank you again for taking this interview.
Very well.